Hi, I'm Eric, 41, and 8 months of my life just got stamped Harris County property because of what happened on Thanksgiving. If you've got a kid, you'll understand why I'm not even a little bit sorry. Until last November, I was aggressively average, operations guy for a commercial HVAC outfit outside Houston, 2 nights a week coaching Little League, the kind of boring that feels like winning. My ex, Kelly, and I split in 2022 like grown-ups. No scorched earth, no custody games. Our daughter, Nina, is 11 going on Supreme Court justice. Braided hair, blue sweater rotation, and a stare that can cross-examine you into telling the truth. We co-parent well. She spends weekends with me, school nights with Kelly, and we trade flexibly because we're not monsters. My family? Different story. Dad, Gary, is a retired insurance exec who still tries to adjust every conversation's premiums. Mom, Brenda, smiles while she stabs, passive aggression with casserole. And my younger sister, Savannah? Golden child with an overdraft of entitlement. She married a finance bro named Evan, which is not his fault except he behaves exactly like a finance bro named Evan. They have a 6-year-old, Caleb. The rift started when Save asked me and Kelly to co-sign a $650,000 McMansion. We said no. She decided no meant betrayed the kingdom, and we've been on ice ever since. So, Thanksgiving 2023, my parents' place in the burbs. The house smells like turkey, nutmeg, and denial. 30 people milling around, neighbors, golf buddies, relatives who materialize only when there's pie. My cousin Nate is there, defense attorney, the only human in my bloodline with a spine and a bar license. I relax a notch because Nate tends to make chaos behave. Nina is sweet hyper, trading turns on the switch with the kid swarm. Around 6:30 she heads upstairs because the downstairs bathroom is occupied by a man who believes cranberry sauce is a beverage. I'm in a corner with Nate solving the Texans. Spoiler, you can't when the world goes jagged. A crash. Not a plate, not a chair. Heavy. Bone. Every conversation in the house snaps off. We turn as one. Nina is at the bottom of the stairs, crumpled, breathless, blinking through tears like she's trying to make the scene stop being real. Halfway up the staircase, framed like a bad painting, is Savannah. For 2 seconds before she puts on her concerned face, I see it. Satisfaction. Like she just stuck the landing on a routine she's practiced in her head. I'm already running. Chair tips over behind me. I land beside Nina, who's clutching her left wrist, trying to be brave as tears leak anyway. I sweep her hair back and she leans toward my ear, voice shaking. Aunt Savannah pushed me. The room tilts. The sound goes thin, like we're underwater. I look up the stairs. Savannah descends in a flurry of staged empathy. Oh my God, honey, are you okay? I told her not to run, she says to the room, not to my daughter. Kids never listen. And the worst sound I've ever heard in my life happens. People laugh. Dad's golf buddy does a cheers motion. Mrs. Collins from next door clucks about kids these days. Mom is already smoothing her skirt like the real emergency is the scene, not the child on the floor. I stand up, set my voice to clear the runway. Why did you push my daughter down the stairs? Everything freezes. Savannah's mask snaps into place so fast it should have sprained. What? Eric, what are you even? She fell. She was running. Nina just told me you pushed her. I stare dead center at Savannah. So I'm asking again. Evan slides in behind his wife with that puffed-up roostery energy. Hey man, watch your tone. Nate has moved without me noticing. He's closer than anyone, phone in hand, eyes steady. Keep talking, he murmurs, not to me. The room goes into factions like it always does. Team Savannah croons. Team Decency, me, Nate, one neighbor who's seen some things, clusters around Nina. Chaos escalates until Dad drops his voice from the head of the table like a gavel. Enough. Mom kneels beside Nina and performs concern like Broadway. Sweetie, tell Grandma exactly what happened. Nina rubs her wrist, sits up a little straighter, and flexes that Supreme Court voice. I went upstairs to use the bathroom. When I came out, Aunt Savannah was in the hall. I started down first. She was behind me. Halfway down I felt 2 hands push me hard. Savannah barks a laugh. She tripped. Mom gives my daughter the soft, cruel tone she reserves for disagreeing with facts. Honey, sometimes when we fall it feels like. Mom. My voice is an edge. Don't gaslight an 11-year-old. Nina doesn't blink. Aunt Savannah pushed me, she repeats, steady this time. Stop being dramatic, Mom says, standing. And that's when Savannah, God help me, lifts her phone and starts recording. Hey guys, she narrates, fake sweet. My niece fell because she's careless, and now she's trying to blame me. I cross the space, yank the phone out of her hand, and kill the video. What the hell is wrong with you? I say. Evan lunges, I stiff-arm him. The room ruptures. Shouting, tut-tooting, someone trying to shush me for the neighbors we literally invited. I take out my phone and dial 3 numbers. Eric. Mom hisses, clawing for the phone. Do you want the whole neighborhood? Too late, I say, because the neighborhood is standing by the spinach dip. Dad strides over and plucks the phone from my hand like I'm 7. He ends the call. Looks me full in the face and says the sentence that detonates 20 years of barely managed respect. I don't want the police here. And even if she pushed her, it was an accident. You don't call cops on your own sister over an accident. Every molecule of air leaves my body. I scan the faces, family, friends, people who watched my kid grow up, and realize I'm the only one in this room who cares more about truth than optics. Which is when Nate, blessed, annoying, perfect Nate, steps into the center and raises his phone like a bailiff. Savannah pushed Nina, he says, calm as a verdict. I recorded it. You could power the Galleria with the shock that rolls through that room. He airdrops the clip to the family group. My phone vibrates in Dad's pocket. He hands it back without a word. I hit play. The frame is wide, the new iPhone lens crisp. Staircase in full view. Nina stepping carefully, one hand on the rail. Savannah behind her, eyes locked, shoulders squared. At the halfway point, Savannah's hands come up and shove. Not a brush. Not an oops. A shove. Nina pitches forward, windmills, tumbles. The video ends. No one breathes. Evan's mouth opens and nothing comes out. Mom looks like she just found out gravity is optional. Dad's face does this twitch he saves for market downturns. Savannah goes paper white, then blotchy. I don't say a word. I walk toward her. Eric, wait, she says, finally afraid. I don't wait. I put my hand at her throat, not to choke, just to steer, and start walking her up the stairs she weaponized. The room explodes. Shouts, hands, nonsense, but rage is a tunnel and I am already halfway up it. Halfway landing. I release her throat, step behind, plant my foot, and kick. The sirens hit the cul-de-sac like a soundtrack nobody ordered. Red and blue painted the siding while Mrs. Collins clutched her pearls on the lawn like she'd been waiting her whole life for this miniseries. 3 HPD officers and an EMT crew came through the door to find Savannah on the floor groaning, Evan hovering uselessly, my parents running a 2-person PR firm, and me by the entryway like I'd already checked in for my arrest. The lead cop clocked the scene, did that wearied cop sigh that says, I'm not paid enough for your family. They split us. EMTs examined Nina first, priority I didn't know I needed to see the universe respect. Bruised wrist, scraped knees, shocky but alert. One paramedic crouched at eye level and talked to her like she was human and not a prop in my mother's optics. I could have hugged him and named my next AC unit after him. Detective Adrian, no E at the end, he clarified, took me to the dining room, turned on his body cam, voice calm. Sir, tell me what happened. I did. Start to finish. Thanksgiving, stairs, shove, phone, video, kick. No editorial, no sugar. He scribbled, glanced up once at I kicked her, like he was making a note to drink more water later. Any history of violence? He asked. No. Do you regret it? I thought about Nina's whisper. I thought about Savannah grinning at a crying child into her phone. No, I said. Something in his face flickered. Fatherhood, probably, and then neutral again. Okay. Meanwhile, Nate handled evidence like he was still in court. He made 3 redundant copies of the video, airdropped to the detective, emailed a time-stamped link to himself, uploaded to a cloud folder titled Carson Family, Exhibit A, and texted me, "Don't lose your phone." Hunter, my coworker and designated ride or die, materialized in the doorway, said nothing, and handed me water like a medic. It tasted like not losing my mind. Mom tried to intercept the cops with, "This is a family matter," and Dad tried, "Accident." But Detective Adrian already had the tape and a brain. He asked to speak to Nina separate from us, which triggered CPS protocol. The paramedics recommended she get checked at Houston Methodist, and the detective nodded. We'll route her through the Children's Advocacy Center for a forensic interview. Mom or legal guardian can meet us there. Kelly answered on the second ring. I could hear the freeway in her voice. We're coming, she said. Tell Nina I'm coming. They cuffed me gently, no theatrics. Cold steel, warm hands. Nate squeezed my shoulder as I passed. Keep your mouth shut unless it helps you, he said, then pivoted to Savannah with all the tenderness of a deposition. Ma'am, don't speak to anyone without a lawyer. Also, you should consider remorse. Savannah hissed and then winced because her back remembered gravity. Evan tried to puff up at me on my perp walk. I looked at him the way you look at a houseplant you forgot to water. Apologetic but not enough to change behavior. The ride to the station smelled like vinyl and bad decisions. They booked me, took prints, sat me in a gray room that had seen more tears than Thanksgiving tables. 20 minutes later, Detective Adrian came back, clicked on the recorder again, confirmed everything I'd said. When he finished, he turned it off, leaned in and said quietly, I have a daughter. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Across town, CPS did what CPS does when there's a camera and a child. Clean room, one-way glass, trained interviewer, the whole kit. Kelly arrived, breathless, hair pinned back like she'd run there through traffic. She had. Nina told the timeline again. Bathroom, hallway, hands, shove. The interviewer asked careful questions. Nina answered like she was telling the truth. She was. Someone handed Kelly a box of tissues. She didn't use them. My kid doesn't cry when she's strong. She cries later, privately, like her old man. They released me on a $20,000 bond by 3 a.m. thanks to Nate and a bondsman who addresses everyone as boss, like we're all starring in the same low-budget film. Conditions: no contact with Savannah, no travel out of county, keep breathing. Outside the station, my parents stood by their car like a portrait titled, Shame, but mostly Inconvenience. They opened their mouths, closed them, got in, and drove away. The silence felt like a familiar coat, uncomfortable but mine. Hunter leaned on his truck, flicked a cigarette into the parking lot, and fell into step beside me without asking a single dumb question. Hospital, he said. Hospital, I said. Houston Methodist at 4 a.m. looks like a spaceship with a budget. Soft hum, 2 white floors, coffee that tastes like penance. Through the glass of an exam room, I saw Kelly on the edge of the bed, Nina tucked under her arm, our girl looking very small and very brave. Hey kid, I said when I stepped in. You okay? My wrist hurts, she said. But I'm okay. Then she smiled because that's who she is, and I almost lost my legs. Kelly caught my eye and tilted her head toward the hall. Hunter slid into the chair by Nina and started telling her about the world's dumbest HVAC call, unit on the roof. Owner thought the weather was stealing his cold. I followed Kelly outside. Thank you, she said, voice low, for protecting her. I'm going to jail, I said, because reality has timing. I saw the video, she said. I'm not saying it was right. I am saying I understand why. Nobody touches our daughter, I said. Exactly, she said, and it was the most married we've felt since we divorced. By sunrise, the machine had chewed and labeled us. Nina, discharged with a brace and superhero-level stickers. Savannah, admitted, minor spinal trauma, bruising, dignity infraction. Me, charged, initially aggravated assault. Paperwork stacked like Jenga. Nate drove me home, gave me a look that said both, I'm proud, and you're an idiot, which is the most honest combination a cousin can offer. The weeks that followed were the bureaucratic hangover. Grand jury in January. Indictment. Discovery. My voicemail filled with relatives auditioning for the role of reasonable person, while hinting that Nina misinterpreted. Mom mailed cookies with a note that said, "We love you both, but we're shocked," which is not a sentence, it's a confession. On the other side, real people showed up. Hunter came by with takeout and the game on mute. Steve, my boss, called me into the office and said, "You've got a job when this is done. Anyone who has a problem can apply elsewhere." The crew signed a card shaped like a wrench. It was beautiful and dumb, and I kept it on my fridge. In June, my case pled down. Assault causing bodily injury, classic, 240 days county, $8,000 restitution. Clean record gave me a softer landing, not a free fall. I took it because I wanted an end date I could hand to my daughter like a calendar square. But before jail, there was court for Savannah. And the part that made the entire courtroom gasp wasn't the shove on video. It was the why out of her own mouth. She told the judge she pushed an 11-year-old to get revenge on my ex-wife for not co-signing a mortgage. That sound you hear? Courtrooms smell like nerves and air conditioning. June 2024, Harris County Criminal Court, wood paneling, fluorescent lights, and a faint sense of doom that sticks to your clothes. I showed up in my only decent suit, the one I'd worn to my cousin's wedding and my divorce mediation. Kelly sat 2 rows behind me, calm but tight-jawed. She was there for Nina, not me, and that made her presence mean more. Savannah arrived looking like a Lifetime special, neck brace, limp, and a white cardigan that screamed, "Innocent victim." Evan was with her, though his face said he'd rather be anywhere else, even a root canal. My parents hovered in the neutral zone, caught between blood and reality, unsure which one still mattered. Nate slid into the back row, notepad out, lawyer face on. Hunter sat beside him, arms crossed, expression blank. He didn't need to speak. The guy's presence was a stabilizer. He looked like he could make a courtroom bench salute if he wanted to. The prosecution started simple. The video. Same one Nate took on Thanksgiving. They played it on a monitor the size of a modest TV, and there it was again. Nina descending, Savannah behind her, the push, the fall. Gasps, murmurs, the whole orchestra of shame. The prosecutor let the silence linger before turning to the jury. This wasn't an accident. This was punishment against a child. Savannah's lawyer, a pudgy man who looked like he billed by the stutter, tried to spin it. "Ladies and gentlemen, my client was emotional. Family tensions. No intent." The prosecutor cut him off like slicing paper. "Intent is in the shove, counselor. Intent is in the smile she tried to hide." Then came the twist. Savannah took the stand. At first, she stuck to the script. Tears, regret, the classic, "I don't remember pushing her" defense. But then the prosecutor asked the question that changed everything. "Why did you do it?" She hesitated, just long enough for the silence to grow teeth. Then she said, flat, emotionless, "I did it to get back at his ex-wife." You could feel the air leave the room. Even the judge leaned forward. "Explain that statement, Ms. Carson." Savannah blinked, mechanical. "In 2022, I wanted to buy a house. Evan and I couldn't get the loan. I asked Eric and Kelly to co-sign. Kelly said no. She told me I couldn't afford it. I never forgot that." Kelly's hand gripped the pew in front of her so tight her knuckles went white. Nate muttered, "Oh hell," under his breath. I stared at Savannah, realizing she'd carried that grudge for over a year, through birthdays, family dinners, pretending to love my kid. The prosecutor took one slow step forward. So you attacked a child, your niece, to punish her mother for refusing to co-sign a mortgage? Savannah didn't even cry this time. Yes. The courtroom buzzed like a hornet nest. The judge banged her gavel until the room obeyed. Then she looked at Savannah the way a surgeon looks at a tumor. You injured a child to retaliate against an adult, Judge Lopez said coldly. That's not a mistake. That's cruelty. From there it moved fast. Plea deal. Injury to a child. 3 years in TDCJ. 5-year protective order covering me, Kelly, and Nina. No calls, no letters, no social media, no proximity within 300 feet of my kid's school. She left court in cuffs, and for the first time in her life, Savannah didn't have an audience. Evan filed for divorce 2 weeks later. Emergency custody granted. Protective order extended to Caleb. I heard later that he told the judge, "My son deserves to live without fear his mother might push him next." For once, the man found a spine. Then it was my turn. My lawyer made it simple. I'd assaulted Savannah after seeing her injure my child. The evidence was clear, the motive understandable. But the law is colder than reason. Judge Lopez looked at me like she'd already decided. Mr. Carson, the court acknowledges your intent was protective. However, we cannot allow personal justice to replace due process. Understood, I said. She sentenced me, 240 days county time, $8,000 restitution, no contact with Savannah for the duration of her sentence. She paused before finishing. You're not a criminal, Mr. Carson, but you are a cautionary tale. I nodded. Fair enough. They cuffed me. I didn't look back. Kelly stood when they led me out. Our eyes met for half a second. No words, just an understanding. She'd take care of Nina. I could breathe knowing that. County jail is nothing like the movies. It's louder, duller, and smells like disinfectant and regret. I did kitchen duty. Served oatmeal to guys who'd seen worse days than mine. My cellmate, Big Joe, a mountain with tattoos and heart problems, asked why I was there. Pushed my sister after she hurt my daughter, I said. He nodded. Man, I got 3 daughters. I'd have done worse. Word got around. Nobody messed with me. Even the guards were respectful. You defend a kid, you get a certain kind of pass in there. The hardest part wasn't the confinement, it was missing Nina. Missing pancakes on Sundays, bedtime stories, her laugh when I burned toast. But every week, rain or shine, Kelly brought her to visit. Through the glass partition, Nina would hold up her hand and say, "Dad, I'm okay." And I believed her. After a few months, I started to feel something close to peace. Jail stripped away everything unnecessary. No noise, no manipulation, no Savannah. Just time, iron bars, and a countdown to getting back to my kid. But as I'd soon find out, even prison walls can't stop the past from calling. Jail days move like molasses. You measure time in metal clanks and tray slides instead of hours. I fell into the rhythm. 5:30 wake up, count, kitchen duty, 2 meals pretending to be 3. After the first week, your brain either melts or learns to make meaning out of scraps. Mine chose the latter. I read everything I could find. Legal manuals. Paperbacks missing half their pages. Big Joe, my cellmate, called me Professor. He said it like it was a compliment and a warning. Most of the guys inside understood why I was there. Word spread fast. That's the dude who decked his sister for pushing his kid. You'd be amazed how much respect that gets in a place where half the population grew up watching people get hurt without anyone stepping in. One guy named Rico said, "My old man used to hit me. Wish somebody like you had kicked him down some stairs." We laughed, but it wasn't funny. The guards treated me different too. Not soft, just human. One of them, Officer Daniels, slipped me extra instant coffee packets now and then. Said, "Man, I've seen monsters come through here. You ain't one of 'em. Still, nights were the worst. That's when the noise quieted and guilt snuck in wearing other names. Worry, fear, was. Not guilt for kicking Savannah. Never that. But guilt for what Nina had to see. A daughter shouldn't have to watch her dad explode. Even if she understood why. Letters started coming in month 2. Kelly sent photos. Nina at school, Nina with pancakes, Nina holding up an A-grade math test like it was the Constitution. The kind of little details that keep you from collapsing. Then one day, Daniels dropped an envelope on my bunk without the usual eye contact. "From your family," he muttered. "Kinda weird one." No return address. Just my name. Inside, 2 folded sheets of lined paper and a photocopy of a handwritten apology form, the kind prisons use for restorative correspondence. At the top, Savannah Carson #TDCJ 438117. My stomach went cold. She was in a women's facility upstate, and apparently, she'd found pen and paper. The letter started neat, careful, her old teacher handwriting. "Eric, they tell us to confront the people we've hurt. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to say I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking straight. Prison humbles you. I hope Nina's okay. I hope you are too. Savannah." Simple. Almost believable. Until the second page. I think about the house sometimes. About what my life could have been if people had helped instead of judged. You had everything. I had nothing. Maybe that's why I snapped. If you'd supported me back then, none of this would have happened. Maybe it's your fault too. There was the Savannah I knew. Apology wrapped around a knife. I folded the letter neatly, handed it to Daniels the next morning. "Can you trash this for me?" He scanned it. "You sure? You can respond if you want." "Nope," I said. "Let her write to the wall. It'll listen better." He smirked. "Fair enough." Month 4. I had a new job, mopping the visitation floor. It paid $2 a day, but the real perk was overhearing real voices. Parents meeting kids. Wives forgiving husbands. One guy proposed to his girlfriend through bulletproof glass. The guard cried harder than either of them. Kelly and Nina never missed a visit. Even when storms flooded half the city, they showed up. Nina pressed her hand to the glass and said, "Dad, Mom says next year we'll go camping again. Can you come when you're out?" "Count on it," I said. "But only if you promise not to bring marshmallows near open flames again." She grinned. No promises. That kid's laughter was the only medicine I needed. Month 6. I was in the rec yard doing laps when Daniels called my name. "Carson." Phone call. It wasn't my lawyer. It was Nate. "You sitting down?" he said. I'm standing in sandals on concrete. "What's up?" "Savannah's been writing letters. Not just to you. She sent one to Mom and Dad. And Kelly." My blood froze. "She can't, there's a protective order." "She's doing it through another inmate. We traced it." Kelly turned hers over to the parole board. "They're not amused." "What did it say?" "That she's rehabilitated, wants forgiveness. But get this, she also claimed you started the fight on Thanksgiving. Says she fell defending herself." I laughed. "But of course she did." "Don't worry," Nate said. "It's not going anywhere. The DA's already notified TDCJ. She just earned herself a disciplinary hearing and at least 3 months in solitary." "Good," I said. "Maybe the walls will teach her empathy." But that night, lying in my bunk, I couldn't stop thinking about it. She was still out there, somewhere behind another set of bars, and she still hated me enough to rewrite history. It wasn't over. Not for her. Maybe not ever. Month 7. I was counting the weeks till release. Big Joe was getting out a week before me. He promised to leave me his extra blanket, the ultimate jail gift. We were watching the local news through scratched plexiglass when Savannah's name popped up in the ticker. Local woman denied parole extension hearing following violation of no contact order. The guys in the day room turned to look at me. Rico whistled. "Damn bro. She's still making headlines." Yeah, I said, trying not to smile. She's consistent, I'll give her that. The guard switched channels to sports. Just like that, she was gone again. The final days went fast. I handed in my uniform, signed paperwork that said I'd completed my custodial obligation. On release morning, Daniels walked me out. You did your time clean, he said. Don't come back. Not planning to, I said. Outside, the air tasted like rust and sunlight. Kelly's car was waiting by the curb. Nina was bouncing in the back seat, holding a "Welcome Home" sign drawn in marker and glitter glue. For the first time in 8 months, I felt normal. Not healed, not proud, just steady. And for me, that was enough. Freedom isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the sound of your own keys again, the hiss of coffee in a real pot, the creak of your couch when you sink into it without counting seconds. I'd done 240 days in county. Walked out lighter in weight, heavier in truth. Kelly and Nina were waiting outside when the gate opened. Nina sprinted into my arms so hard I almost dropped the little duffel with my life in it. 1 book, 2 shirts, 1 folded letter from Kelly that said, "She's doing fine. Finish your time proud." Kelly didn't say much on the ride back. She didn't need to. We drove in silence, the kind of silence that's safe. Trees, traffic, sunlight. Normal things that suddenly feel like miracles. At home that night, I stood under a shower so long it turned my skin red. Then I made real food, eggs, toast, bacon. The smell alone almost made me cry. You don't realize how sacred a clean plate is until the state owns your silverware. The weeks after release blurred into small routines. I went back to work, same HVAC company, same crew, same boss who'd said, "Family emergency, no questions." Hunter slapped me on the back when I walked in. "Told you the world didn't end," he said. And he was right. It hadn't. It had just shrunk. My circle was smaller now, just Kelly, Nina, Hunter, and Nate. Everyone else had proven themselves optional. Then one Thursday afternoon, about 7 months after my release, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Should've. But something in me, that old curiosity that ruins peace, made me answer. "Eric, it's me." Her voice. Softer, thinner. But unmistakable. "Savannah." I froze. "How did you get this number?" "Mom gave it to me." "Of course she did." "She shouldn't have," I said flatly. I know, Savannah rushed. "I'm not calling to cause trouble. I need to see you. Please." "No. Please, Eric. Just an hour. I'm working with a therapist. Part of my recovery is making amends. I need to apologize to you. In person." There was a long pause. The sane part of me said hang up. The stubborn part said see what she's really after. 1 hour, I said finally. "Tomorrow. Memorial Park, 2 p.m. public place. If you're late, I leave." She agreed too fast. I hung up, immediately texted Hunter. Meeting Savannah tomorrow, 2 p.m., Memorial Park. Hunter, want backups? No. But if I don't text by 3, come looking. The next day was mild, sky clear, the park half empty. I sat on a bench near the playground where families pushed kids on swings, like a reminder of what sanity looked like. At 2 sharp, Savannah appeared. She looked different. Thinner, paler. Prison leaves marks that makeup can't hide. Her movements were slow, hesitant, like she was rehearsing being human again. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, sitting down. I didn't answer. She fiddled with her hands, eyes on the ground. "I've been in therapy for months. My counselor says I have to face what I did. That I hurt you, all of you. I'm sorry. I really am." "Okay," I said. "You said your piece. That it?" She shook her head. "No. I need to ask you for something." There was the catch. I leaned back, arms crossed. "Of course you do." Her voice trembled. "Evan's divorcing me. He's got full custody of Caleb. I'm on parole, and when it ends, I'll have nothing. No house, no money, no job. Mom and Dad won't help me. They said they're done. You're the only one who still has anything. I laughed once, sharp. You pushed my daughter down the stairs. And you want a loan. I said I'm sorry, she hissed. People make mistakes. Yeah, I said. You made yours. I made mine. One of us did time for it. She went quiet, breathing fast. Then softer, desperate. Okay, forget money. I need something else. My therapist says I can ask you for a victim statement to help shorten my parole. If you tell them you forgive me and think I'm safe to be around, they might end supervision early. You're serious? I said. Eric, please. I can't live like this anymore. Curfew, chickens can't see my son. No, I said. Her voice cracked. You don't forgive me? No, I don't. The silence stretched. Birds chirped somewhere, oblivious. Then her face changed. The mask slipped. The eyes hardened. You self-righteous jerk, she spat. After everything our family's been through, you can't even help your own sister? You're not my sister, I said quietly. You lost that title when you hurt my kid. She shot to her feet, knocking the bench back. People turned to look. You know what? Screw you. Screw you and your precious daughter. I should have pushed her harder. For a second, everything went still. My pulse didn't even register. Then I stood, slowly, evenly, and stepped close enough that she saw something in my eyes that reminded her who she was talking to. Savannah, I said softly, you should walk away. Before I make the same mistake twice. Her bravado cracked. She backed up, eyes darting. This isn't over, she said. Yeah, I replied. It is. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm. I'll tell everyone you threatened me. I'll get you sent back to jail. I pulled free and leaned close enough for her to see the phone in my hand, screen glowing red. I've been recording since you sat down, I said. Whole park heard you threaten my daughter again. Try me. Her face drained of color. She stammered something, then bolted toward the parking lot. I watched her go, not angry, not even relieved. Just tired. Tired of family that confuses forgiveness with surrender. That night, I sent the recording to Nate with a short message. If she tries anything, here's proof. He replied, smart. I'll file it with the D, just in case. A week later, Savannah violated parole again, harassment and intimidation. The board denied her early discharge. Full term, no appeal. Evan got permanent custody of Caleb. My parents tried to reconcile with her afterward. She refused. Guess even she finally learned what disownment feels like. As for me, I moved on. Therapy, work, coaching Nina's softball team. Kelly and I still aren't together, but we're a better team now than we ever were married. And Nina? She's thriving. Straight A's, no nightmares, no fear around stairs. Just a kid again. Sometimes, when I tuck her in, she still says, Dad, you'd protect me again if you had to, right? And I tell her the truth. Every time, kiddo. Single. Time. It was a year later when the past came knocking again, not with sirens this time, but an envelope. No return address. Just my name, written in the same sharp cursive that had once labeled every Christmas present, from your favorite sister. I almost threw it out. Almost. Instead, I took it inside, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table while the morning light bled through the blinds. Nina was at school. Kelly had texted about picking her up from softball. The house was quiet, too quiet for ghosts, but just right for one more. The letter was 4 pages. Folded perfectly. No smudges, no tears. Savannah's last act of control. Eric, I'm leaving Texas. My parole's over. I don't owe this state anything anymore. I don't expect you to care, but I need to say this before I go. You think you're the only one who's suffered. You think you're a hero because you kicked your sister. Maybe the world applauded you, but I lost everything. My son, my freedom, my family. And you still get to be the good guy. But I know something you don't. You didn't protect Nina that day. You taught her that violence fixes things. My hands tightened around the paper. I could almost hear her voice again, cold, logical, venom disguised as wisdom. Maybe one day, when she grows up and someone hurts her, she'll remember that the way to feel safe is to hit back harder. Maybe that's the only lesson she'll carry from you. I read it twice. Then 3 times. Then I folded it and slid it into the drawer next to my father's old pocketknife and a photo of Nina at age 8, missing 2 front teeth, holding a popsicle. For a while I just sat there. Because the worst part? Savannah wasn't entirely wrong. That night, Kelly dropped Nina off after softball. She ran in, sweaty and smiling, threw her glove on the couch. "Coach said I'm pitching next week." "Proud of you, kid," I said, smiling. She plopped down beside me, eyes catching the letter still on the table. "What's that?" "Nothing important," I said quickly, sliding it aside. But Nina's sharper than most adults. She looked at me, really looked, and said, "Is it from her?" I didn't answer. She nodded anyway. "Mom told me she's gone. Moved away." "Yeah," I said softly. "She's gone." Nina stared at the letter for a long moment, then reached over and took my hand. "Good," she said finally, "because I don't want you to go to jail again." That made me laugh, the kind that shakes something loose in your chest. "I don't either, kid. Promise." I looked at her, at this little person who'd been through hell and still believed in good endings. "Promise." Later that night, after she was asleep, I went outside to the backyard. The air smelled like cut grass and rain. I took the letter, struck a match, and watched it burn in the grill. The paper curled, blackened, turned to ash that lifted like ghosts too tired to haunt anyone anymore. Because Savannah's wrong about one thing. I didn't teach my daughter that violence fixes things. I taught her that no one, not even family, gets to hurt you and laugh about it. I taught her that silence protects bullies, not the broken. I taught her that love means standing up, even when it costs you everything. And maybe that's not the lesson my sister would have understood, but it's the only one I'll ever stand by. As the last ember flickered out, I whispered into the smoke, "Goodbye, Savannah." And this time I meant it. The next morning, I drove Nina to school. She talked the whole ride. About homework, softball, a new friend named Emma. Halfway there, she said, "Dad?" "Yeah. You know that girl at practice who called me names? I told Coach. She made her apologize." "That's good," I said. "You didn't have to fight?" She smiled. "No. But I wasn't scared either." I smiled back, the kind of quiet smile that lives deep in your bones. Because maybe that's what healing looks like, not forgetting the fire, but learning how to hold the warmth without getting burned. And for the first time in years, I realized Thanksgiving was coming up again. Same month, same date. But this time, no one was getting pushed, no one was pretending, no one was laughing at someone else's pain. Just me and my daughter, 2 survivors, planning to cook our own turkey, our own way. I don't need forgiveness. I don't need family. I've got peace, and that's worth more than any apology.